Pirgaki. Eh,
Scientific consultant of the Greenway project. It is my great honor to invite you to today's opening event. First of all, I would like to thank the representatives of the European Economic Area, because without this financing tool, we would not be able to do all we've done. The funding mechanism of the European Economic Area represents the contribution of these three countries to minimizing financial inequality and to strengthening bilateral relationships with 15 European countries, including Greece. Specifically, the project is financed by the regional cooperation funds. It supports regional initiatives for transnational and international projects, promoting common solutions to European challenges. I would like to thank the region of Western Greece, the municipality of Mesologi, the Waters Department, Mrs. Birgaki, the president of the Administration Authority for Messolongi Waters, and Mr. Akanandes for his participation in today's event. And I would like to thank the Vice Rector of for Research and Development of the University of Patra, the Professor Dimas, the Executive Secretary of the Mr. Kalognomos, Mr. Stefanidis, Mrs. Panagiotis for their contribution to today's event. Finally, I would like to thank the partners of the project, Atlantis Ltd from Cyprus, Flagdam Delta from Romania, Sindef Ocean from Norway, Fugro Norway, also from Norway, and the European Public Law Organization from Greece for their cooperation. Today, we are going to talk about managing eutrophication and anoxication in coastal ecosystems. So the European challenge is eutrophication and anoxic ecosystems, and the project is financed to find solutions to handle this problem, which will be implementable across Europe. But why are we holding this event in Missolonghi specifically, not in Patras or Athens? This is a serious issue that concerns many regions, such as the Saronic Gulf. The region of Missolonghi and Etoliko, especially the lagoon, has intense eutrophication problems, and it has anoxic problems in Etoliko. It is a pilot area for studying the problem and solution. This seminar aims to provide a discussion forum between the authorities and the public, connecting universities to the local society. I hope that today's event will be useful for our audience. and that the proposals it's going to present will allow for solutions in the local society. I would like to thank our audience for being here, no matter where they're attending from, because I know that we can't all be here because of the pandemic. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Stephanie, who's a professor of the Department of Civil Engineering, who is responsible for the finances of the project. Mr. Stefanidis. We would like to welcome you to our project today. As we will see, with particular emphasis on active public participation, our project aims to a holistic management of the problems in the lagoon, providing solutions both from the part of the sea and from land. So thank you very much for being here. And today, the procedure is going to be coordinated by Mrs. Angeli. Okay. Good morning. I am Olivia Angeli. I am a doctoral researcher, and I'm a researcher at the University of Patras. I would like to welcome you to today's event. So at this point, we can proceed to a short welcome by Mr. Athanasios Dimas, a professor and at the Department of Civil Engineering. Good morning. On behalf of everyone at the department, I would like to welcome you to this seminar, this event. The research activities are a significant part of our department's activities, apart from education. And of course, we are very happy whenever we can see these research activities become international, such as in this case, and especially when they have a relatively social nature. So I hope that you will have a very successful event today. And I also hope that we will find successful solutions through this project. I would like to welcome you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dimas. At this point, I would like to welcome Mr. Panagiotis Dimopoulos, a professor and the Vice Rector for Research and Development of the University of Patras. Good morning. On behalf of the University of Patras, as Vice Rector for Research and Development and as a biologist, I'm very happy that we are managing at the Research Committee of the University this very innovative project, which highlights the abilities of our research team through the headed by Erotheos Zacharias. And as a university in general, we have great capacity and great research skills in promoting research and innovation. At the same time, this covers an issue in an integrated manner. So it's an existing problem faced through innovative tools based on nature-based solutions. So this provides solutions that approach the issue in a holistic fashion, integrated in a comprehensive manner, and not through fragmented approaches. So this kind of project is very important for our university. We hope that everything will go well and that the project will be successful. It's the first event on this, so it's important for this to be embraced by local societies through participative consultation to have the best possible result for the project. Congratulations. I wish you success. Thank you very much, Mr. Dimopoulos. We now have the great honor to have with us online So we are honored to have with us online representatives from departments of the program and from the financial management department of the program. So we would like to welcome Mrs. Greg Hauge, the Senior Sector Officer for the EA and Norway Grad FMO from the Financial Mechanism Office.
Thank you so much, and Kalimera all. Very nice to see you. I wish I could be there with you in Messalongi. I lived in northern Greece for a few years, and I'm a very active bird watcher, and Messalongi was one of the areas where I very much wanted to go. But you'll have to wait until we can overcome the current problems with the pandemic. I have made a very brief presentation on the EA and Norway grants that I would like to share with you here. Okay, I hope you can see it. So I work in the Financial Mechanism Office, which is the secretariat of the EA and Norway grants. And I will just go very briefly through the motions on what this is, the EA and Norway grants. And the grants are part of the EA agreement, which is a cooperation agreement between the three donor countries, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, with the EU member states. And already in our agreement, you can see the two overall objectives of the EA and Norway grants, which is the reduction of economic and social disparities and the strengthening of bilateral relations. And of course, in this project, you have expertise partners from Norway, which we are very happy to see, which will strengthen the bilateral cooperation between our countries. The EA grants has now a budget of 1.5 billion euros, and it covers 15 beneficiary countries, mostly in Eastern and Southeastern Europe, but Portugal is also in. Spain is no longer a beneficiary country. Norway grants has only Norway as a donor, but it has almost the same allocation, 1.3 billion euros, and it covers the newest EU member states. So as you can see, Greece, for instance, is not covered by Norway grants. The EA and Norway grants are split on the beneficiary countries according to their size. So as you can see in this, in the last column of this overview, Poland receives the biggest allocations, since it is the biggest of the beneficiary countries, while Malta and Cyprus are the smallest countries, and then has a much more limited budget or allocation. And at the bottom there, you could see the regional funds. These are two funds. It's the Fund for Youth Employment and the Fund for Regional Cooperation, which is the fund that is funding this project. And what we do is that we fund projects across 5 priority sectors, and you can see them here. Innovation and research is the biggest sector, and but also culture, civil society, and good governance, and environment and energy are big sectors. And within these priority sectors, there are program areas, and one of those program areas is environment and ecosystems, which your project is linked to. So the regional funds here, 93 million here, is the net allocation. Here you can see there are the two new funds that are new for this financing period, the Fund for Youth Employment and the Fund for Regional Cooperation. Very quickly on the Fund for Regional Cooperation, this is a novelty within the EA and Norway grants. So you are the first project to receive funds under this fund. There are now 18 projects in implementation. The 19th is soon to be signed. So we will have 19 projects very soon in implementation. And as you may know, there was a lot of interest for this fund when we had the open call for proposals. We got more than 700 applications actually, and so it was a difficult job for the donors to select the best projects. So it's a very exclusive list that we have now with the final selection of projects. So we are, of course, extremely happy to see you here today, that you have launched your project, and we look so much forward to following you and seeing how you work, how you cooperate, and see the results of this project. What is a bit special about the Fund for Regional Cooperation is that it not only involves the beneficiary countries of the EEA and Norway grants, but also 10 non-EEA countries that are bordering the European Union. And these are from Russia in the north to Turkey in the south. So in this project, you don't have any of these countries in as project partners, but many of the other 18 projects have partners from non-EEA countries, which of course also underline that the problems that also this BLUE-GREENWAY project addresses are truly European, they are truly cross-border, they are international challenges that we need to cooperate to solve. That was what I had. Thank you so much for inviting me to this launch, and I'm very much looking forward to listening to you in this webinar. Thank you.
Ms. Hauge, thank you very much for managing to be here even from afar in today's event. And at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Gianluca Mombarda, the Fund Director for the EEA and Norway Funds for Regional Cooperation Fund for Youth Employment.
Kalimera, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having invited me. Well, let's say that Grete has already basically presented the two funds we are managing for on this cooperation, the WEA Norway grants, which are, I mean, the Fund for Youth Employment and the Regional Cooperation Fund. The data that has already been provided by Grete are all there. I'd just like to add that let me show you a little bit I'd like to show a little bit this infographic just to let you know or let you see, more likely it is very small, but here you can see more or less, you can see exactly how the funds, how the project has been distributed geographically. And as Grete said, 8 of the 10 countries, North Macedonia, Serbia, Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Montenegro, Ukraine, Russia, and Turkey, among the 15 beneficiary countries, are all participating into this project for a total of, let me see exactly, 64 entities participating in the 19 already ongoing project. 64 from the beneficiary country, 23 from beneficiary partner, and then expertise partner for a number of 35. So heavily involvement of 141 project partners implementing those 19 projects already ongoing. Out of them, 13 projects, we have already approved the first report. So even though the project, they started, most of the projects started already last year, and they are actually even working. Unfortunately, the situation, the COVID situation did not allow us to organize, as we were originally planning, a meeting all together as we did for the Youth Employment Fund, as we were planning to do it. We have some discussion internally on how to organize our first meeting for the whole project of the regional cooperation, which will be more likely around November. Still, we do not know how it will be organized. Certainly, the regional cooperation, as Grete was saying, is very, on one side, small, because it's involving only about 30 million of funding, but we have 5 main sectors. So we have 5 projects in innovation, 2 projects in social inclusion, 7 projects, and you are among those 7, on environment, and then we have also culture and civil society, good governance, together with 4 projects and 3 projects on justice and home affairs. So the variety, the diversity of all those projects is something which is really, really interesting, and particularly on our view, because we have seen in most of those projects that the attention to youth is particularly interesting. And as I said at the real beginning, we also manage the Youth Employment Fund. So there are certain and a lot of activities where the regional cooperation and the youth employment will be put together. And we hope to do this in November. I do not know if I cover everything, if I forget something. And I have to inform you that unfortunately at around 11, I will have to leave, unfortunately, for another meeting, which was already planned today. So I will be here with you till 11 o'clock, and I'm really again thanking you for the invitation, and hope to be able one day or the other to meet all of you in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we hope to be able to see you face to face at some point. At this point, let's move on to the greetings from the local authorities. So at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Fokion Zaimis, Vice Governor of the region of Western Greece, who managed to be here online. Thank you very much, dear Mayor, dear Vice Rector, Mr. Zacharias, Mr. Stefanidis, Mrs. Pirgakis, Mrs. Angeli, dear friends from abroad, Mrs. Grete Hathaway, Mr. Gianluca Bombarda. Dear friends, it is my pleasure to be at this event today, because even if we did not have this project, we should discover it. It's very important. The scientific object of the study is very important. It's an issue that has been a problem for the region of Western Greece in many ecosystems. The main one is obviously the ecosystem of the lagoon of Messolongi and Etoliko. I had the honor to participate in quite a few conferences in Messolongi and Etoliko dedicated to this, so I do have a personal relationship with the area, and I believe that this kind of collaboration is very important. There are quite a few other areas where in the future we could take the results of this conference and utilize them. So I believe that given the excellent level of the scientific team, given the professors who participate, I believe that your results are going to be very valuable. I would like to state that at the moment, the region of Western Greece is completing the 4-year plan, development plan for the region. As you know, this includes a series of initiatives, a series of actions, and at the moment, we are trying, there's a fermentation, a consultation, an exchange of views. So the timing of this event is fantastic. As you know, we have the NSRF funds, we have the Public Investments Fund, the Recovery Fund, the Transnational Funds, the Competitiveness Fund. So it's very good for a country like Norway and, of course, Liechtenstein and Iceland to contribute in their own way, to have set up this fund and to fund research and studies, scientific studies outside their countries. This shows a very good social sensitivity and a broadness of thinking, and it makes us feel optimistic because they have very serious governments and local authorities that show the way. Norway didn't have to do this. It could have set different priorities, but the fact that it provides more than €1 billion, I was very happy to hear Mrs. Grete state specifically all the details about this program. This is very important for us because it shows that we can have collaboration between regions and between the people and the governments and the scientists of all the countries and the universities and the academic community. I would like to stress that the region of Western Greece is very extroverted. So we are going to try to find ways to collaborate again or to find new projects in these activities, in these pillars which Mrs. Greta just presented. I'm not going to talk about this now because already I've got quite a few collaborations in mind that we could start, quite a few issues that I think are of interest to Scandinavian countries as well, which would be useful for them. So I would like to say that we have tried to have our eyes and ears open to all possible collaborations. Personally, I am honored to be the vice president of the Mediterranean Committee of the Coastal Regions Association. So in this capacity as well, I will try to convey the results of today's project. It's very important to promote Greek scientists in all networks that we have, not only to have them produce results, but also to provide networking. There are similar problems in the Black Sea area, and there's a separate committee for the Black Sea, and I believe that these results should be disseminated and studied there as well. And obviously there are similar such problems in other areas of the world where there are corresponding transnational scientific authorities. I would finally like to say that Messalongi is not only an area for environmental interventions or for reverse engineering, shall we say, to restore the situation as it used to be before human intervention, because human intervention does bring about lots of good, because we need to have business, we need to have entrepreneurship, because otherwise we have no GDP, no wealth creation, so then we have no social policy. But this should take place in a way that does not burden the environment. At the same time, the results of the conference, I believe, should also be the trigger for new initiatives by new startups that we, as the region of Western Greece, should help to increase entrepreneurship in the blue economy. So the blue economy is very important. Our region is surrounded by sea. Especially Aetola has the longest water reserves in Greece, in lagoons and lakes and rivers, and this is very important. And I believe that there should be an effort to couple the results of this research with young people, with young students from the universities who will try to put into action through business and with the help of financing tools the results of this conference, if possible. Thank you very much. I hope everything goes well. I wish I could be there today as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Zaimis. At this point, we will move on to our next speaker, and we would like to welcome Mrs. Katsota, the representative of Mr. Konstantinos Liros, the mayor of Messolongi.
Σας καλωσορίσουμε στην όμορφη πόλη μας.
We would like to welcome you to our beautiful city and wish you success in today's conference. Unfortunately, the mayor could not be here with us today, or anyone from the team. The area of the lagoon, obviously I represent the authority that manages the sewage of Messolongi, and this greatly affects the quality of seawater. We have three sewage plants flowing into the lagoon. There are huge problems in the operation of the businesses, and the problems that we have, unfortunately, we have a very degraded experience because we don't have any staff, we don't have any funds, but every day we are fighting to be able, as much as possible, to be consistent, to rescue and salvage our environment. I work especially on the lagoon system of Messolongi and Anatoliko. It has great particularities. Any human intervention in this very fragile lagoon ecosystem is seen directly. We are using financing tools to manage and to improve our facilities and to create measures and perhaps new solutions to remove sources of pollution from this fragile environment. We hope, with the help of society and the region as well, that we will finance projects to remove pollutants so as to improve the conditions there. Thank you very much. I hope everything goes well. Thank you very much for managing to be here today. At this point, I would like to invite the head of the management body of Messolongi Lagoon, the Messolongi Lagoon area, Mr. Fotis Pergandis. Good morning. On behalf of the management body of the Messolongi Lagoon, our authority is obviously intensely interested in today's program, which it had from the very onset been very enthusiastic about, and it was an initial partner of the program. The reason why it later asked not to be a partner, and this is the only reason, is that we are awaiting a significant change in the management of the body according to a ministerial decision. This ministerial decision had not clearly defined how the procedures for the participation of our body could continue when there are programs with foreign partners, because these programs have very strict deadline requirements. So to avoid the creation of problems by the participation of our body as a partner, we decided at least officially, to leave the program, but in essence, our body is very interested in the program and continues to contribute as much as possible to helping the activities of your program, which will take place in its area of jurisdiction. So on this occasion, I would like to give you some information which relate to this program. The first, our body, in the context of its responsibilities and its constant effort to restore the water ecosystems it manages, managed to have managed to include in the fishing and sea program 2 project packages that are described in studies conducted by our body, and they concern the management of pollution and the improvement of water quality in the lagoon. And for this project and for the other 2 things I'm going to talk about, we are open to providing information to all interested stakeholders. The second issue is that very recently, in the context of our body's financing by the operational program for Western Greece, we are now in a procedure for drafting a contract with a contractor for the supply of the physical-chemical characteristics of the water in the lagoon of Etoliko and a new station for water level meters in our area of authority. So the data that we will collect, we will be very happy to share with the partners of the program so that they can be used in a more integrated way towards improving the situation of improving our ecosystems and wildlife. The third thing I want to say is that our body has created a series of interventions at the region of Western Greece and to the General Water Secretariat for the issuance of a circular that will prevent the outflow of waters from Trichonida to Etoliko, because we have many problems created there which degrade the quality of waters in the lagoon. So I would also like to comment that the selection of this area as a financing region is ideal because it's a pilot. It should be a pilot area, and it has a great environmental significance, and of course, it also has problems that need to be addressed and can be used as an example for other areas. Now, I would like to finish by wishing success to all the partners of the program and bon courage to my friend, Professor Erothos Zacharias. And finally, I would like to invite Mrs. Greta Huger, who is also a bird watcher, because I'm an ornithologist and a bird watcher myself. We hope that she'll find a way to come here and we can take her on a tour on various bird watching places of the area. Thank you. Thank you very much for managing to be here today. At this point, we can move on to our invited speaker, Professor Panagiotis Dimopoulos, Vice Rector for Research and Development of the University of Patras. Good morning again to everyone. Going to have a look at your presentation. Okay. My presentation wasn't. Anyway, today I'm going to speak about the prospects, ecosystem services as prospects for environmental conservation and human well-being. I think it was in Greek. I think you've put the English version. Yesterday had sent the Greek version. Anyway, I'm going to speak in Greek. In general, we're at a time where at the moment we have many programs that concern the emblematic species, flagship species, and their conservation, careta careta, and the Mediterranean seal, some pine trees in the Peloponnese. At the same time, we have new techniques such as citizen science, environmental education, and of course, there's a very important role by NGOs, and this is always going to be significant in collaboration with universities and with all other stakeholders in conservation actions. At the same time, we are at a time when we have intense climate change, which dominates the tabloids. In recent years, we will see the curves in different countries with the black. It means that we see a constant increase through the climate change scenarios, the effect of the different changes on natural ecosystems and the planet as a whole. At the same time, we have an exponential rise in global population, which, as you know, leads to the over-exploitation of all natural resources. We have wood and water resources because more people need to find a way to make a living, so we need food. Here we see some data from 2005 when we had the first global evaluation of what happened in the world. At the same time, we see that this over-exploitation leads to ecosystem loss, which at the same time leads to short-term profits for well-being, but at the same time creates problems for today and for the future, because this leads to cost of ecosystem loss and societal needs costs. And this means that we have huge amounts required for ecosystem restoration costs. So we have the cost of ecosystem loss, which, based on some studies from 2013, is over 3.3 trillion USD per year. Today, the ecosystem services concept after 2014 is included in many legislative documents and frameworks around the globe. Greece also participates in this. We have a lot of texts and legal tools, and we see initiatives on a global level and sustainable tools and lots of platforms for biodiversity, for support services and sustainable development. And we have the European Green Deal and the European Strategy for Biodiversity, which is dedicated to the restoration of ecosystems. All this, I had it on my Greek slides, but it doesn't matter. Now, ecosystem services are the contribution of ecosystem structure and function in combination with other inputs to human well-being. They have three types: provisioning, regulating and maintenance, and cultural. We see the social capital, the natural capital, which means all our global natural wealth. This is the green card. This includes the social capital, built capital, human capital. What we see is that this natural capital does not automatically lead to human well-being through ecosystem services because it interacts with the other three parts of our life, so social life and economic life. So these are the two sections that are interacting and intertwined systems. So we have ecosystem and socioeconomic systems. At the base of this, we have biodiversity, and of course, the biodiversity provides lots of different functions: water, food, air filtration, and all these interact and provide and take services from socioeconomic systems, which create benefits for humans, At the same time, this means that we have negative impacts, which means changes in the ecosystems. And of course, we have an important element is what kind of decisions are taken by decision makers. So we need a full circle, because any change that happens in our natural ecosystems, to be able to have this provide added value sustainably, the government needs to intervene to manage to restore them and then to continue with the same dynamics to provide services to humans. So at the bottom, we see the state, present, and future. This is very important to have a good ecosystem condition for this. So this is part of the program that we are starting very soon. Yesterday, I sent a completely different slides. Anyway, I hadn't included the European Green Deal. Anyway, the European Green Deal integrates all these things we talked about. We have different policies. We have the ESMA's action, which concerns the mapping of all of these. We see all the different strategies. So around this action for which Europe and Greece since 2014 are placing great significance, we see the policy on water, climate, agriculture, marine policy, regional policy, forest strategy, and biodiversity strategy. So all these, as you understand, are an interacting section, and each part of this chain interacts and depends on the other one. We see here how the different systems intertwine as regards services provided to humans and how we should be led from ecosystem conservation to the maintenance of the benefits to humans. But these are always there. Humans need to see how they can best use them. So we have a flow of services from the ecosystem to humans, but they should be at the right time. So I'm going to move on very quickly because unfortunately I had changed my speech completely. Okay, so the Natura 2000 network, which is one of the areas of the project, is the largest network of green infrastructure, which has 446 areas with sea areas, lagoons, and land areas. So we have a network which by its nature includes natural resources, natural ecosystems in very good condition, which even if we have problems, we should handle this in an integrated management. Here we see green and blue dots. We have different programs that study and monitor ecosystem state through a monitoring system for the conservation of ecosystem species based on the European directives. And we have dots for the Water Framework Directive. And sometimes these are the same areas, obviously. There's an effort being made, and I'm taking part in this personally, how to manage to combine all this. So that to manage to join our forces, our human forces and scientific forces and economic forces, to combine the results as a basis, as a reference base for taking decisions. We've built a whole national set of ecosystem services indicators, and this is a program running up to 2023, and we are taking part as the University of Patras. We are the partner responsible for ecosystem services. We have also created an indicator which is environmental condition indicator. It has weight factors for environmental quality and for various ecosystem variables. This took place through a platform created at the University of Patras, which includes all ecosystems. It's for tablets and mobile phones. and you can select the ecosystem you want and fill in information concerning its condition of the ecosystem, as I said, as a function of the data of the ecosystem, function, threats, operation, and then it has a tool for ecosystem services, which depending on the user of the field, we don't do this from home, we don't do this at the office, we go on site and we provide information. With my team, we are trying to fill in mapped data from various areas in Greece to be able to have a great overview of ecosystem services. We are finishing with the Peloponnese and we're going to move on to Epirus and Western Greece. So I'm not going to talk about all this, but we see based on the indicators we have created, we see for example, the indicator coastal protection from floods. This is very significant. It's a significant cost-related issue because anything that is lost for environmental restoration, all this money, it means money lost for social services. So the better the condition of the ecosystems, the lesser the cost for restoration, which means that this money can be used for social services. So moving on, we see the lagoon of Mesologia Toliko covered by the Natura 2000 network. We're going to make use of this data to map the ecosystem. We are dividing it based on the ecosystem types, and we are going to complete the map of ecosystems throughout the country, not only in protected areas, but everywhere. We have here we see a system for the optimization of EU-driven monitoring schemes. So one of the areas was Mesolongi, the broader area of Mesologia Toliko. So here we see what I really wanted to say to sum up is that we see that the natural capital at the base of everything we do, and to have a euphoric management system, we need to have assessment and monitoring systems for the natural environment and for the cultural environment. Then the socio-economic environment to recognize and assess the support services offered, to have management plans, which after 2022 will start to be applied in all protected areas of Greece. And of course, all these are policy-making tools. And if they have the necessary plans, politicians can take the right decisions towards a plan for euphoric management of resources. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dimopoulos, for your presentation. At this point, we can move on to our next speaker, who is online with us, Mr. Stavros Kalognomos, Executive Secretary of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission and of the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here to this great event on the BLUE-GREENWAY project, in which the University of Patras is participating and in which we contributed a bit in the formation. I'm going to talk a bit about how the CPMR works, and I would like to thank Mr. Zaimis, the Deputy Regional Secretary, who is one of the most active members of the CPMR and of the two regional territorial committees, that on the Balkans and on that of the Black Sea and in the Mediterranean Commission. So how do we work? What is the importance of connecting policies with projects? Two interconnected things. These two things mean that if we don't have information from the projects towards policy making, and from policy making to the projects, we can't have sustainable management or good planning for the future. So what's the CPMR? It's an association of 150 member regions from across Europe and from other countries. We work on specific policy areas. So cohesion, transport, maritime issues, climate and energy, and migration. We have been operating since 1973 and we represent about 200 million people. As I said, we are structured in 6 geographical commissions. The ones that operate in the Greek area is the Balkan and Black Sea Commission and the Inter-Mediterranean Commission. We work closely with European instruments, especially the European Commission and the European Council. We also work as a think tank and as a lobby, and we also have projects through which we implement various policies on which we lobby. And essentially, we promote the interests of our member regions at the European level. Here are some photos from the pro-COVID era, showing how we work, how we provide our know-how, and how we network with the institutional bodies of the EU, and how we help in promoting the interests of our member states for the new plans. And the plans for the new regions will be able to be targeted and cover what their interests need. And as I said earlier on, this two-way communication promotes the priorities of the member regions to the institutional bodies of the EU, and at the same time, we inform before the plans are ready. We inform our member regions to be able to act timely and to see how we can influence policy making so that they are in favor of the priorities we want. As I said, the core groups of policy we work on are cohesion, transport and accessibility, both sea and intermodal transport, climate and energy, such as renewable energy sources, maritime affairs and fishing, and migration policy. At a policy level, we have some working groups, and we also work with European projects. The most relevant actions as regards the BLUE-GREENWAY project is the action on climate change and energy and on maritime affairs. This includes, we have started the Regions Act initiative with the participation of member regions of the CPMR, including the region of Western Greece. And this initiative concerns climate neutrality, and amongst other things, amongst its member regions, some members, such as Valencia in Spain, contribute also at a level of strategy in managing waters and waste. This initiative is an intense collaboration on the specific issues. So members of the CPMR, such as the region of Western Greece, for which climate change is a priority, can exert pressure together with the General Secretariat of our body. We can exert more pressure at a European level. We're also preparing for the summit of the EU, which is going to take place in October in Glasgow, to represent the regions, the CPMR regions better at a global level. As regards maritime affairs and fishing, CPMR collaborates closely, mainly with the general secretariats of MFAB, SICARICA. So it's an intergroup, so it's Mission Board Healthy Ocean Seas, Coastal and Inland Waters, which is part of the Horizon Europe. All these, we work closely with the European Commission and the European Council as regards the sea funds and the fishing funds. This is what used to be the fishing and aquaculture funds. These are a new target of the fund. At the same time, we provide secretarial support for the CIRICA intergroup of the European Council. We work through various task forces with other members towards promoting the interests of sea industries, and we take part in the group that prepared the new Horizon Europe. The representative of CPMR in this team, which up until now has managed to set the targets for 2030, is the president of the Mediterranean and Black Sea Committee. So a few things about the CIRICA, because as I understand, all these feed into each other, the lobbying, the projects, how we promote them, how we can promote them at a European level, to be able to have sustainable growth and development, or through other projects, or through improved policies at a European level. So one of the tools in this direction is the CIRICA group of the European Council. For this period, we have 107 MPs from many different members, from 23 member states. The president, Mr. Pichula, is from Croatia, from the broader region in which Greece also participates, together with another 3 EU countries and 5 non-member states. We have vice presidents for climate and governance, fishing and social issues. We have from Greece 2 vice presidents, Mr. Meimerakis and Mr. Kokalis, for tourism and the blue economy, respectively. The intergroup Seas, Rivers, Islands and Coastal Areas Group is a forum for representatives of the sea sectors of various countries to network, to promote the projects running in all the different regions, and also collaborations form for future submissions of proposals for various programs. And also, it's important to know that in shaping the strategies, apart from the projects with whose deliverables are given to EU instruments so that they know what did well, where we need to improve things in the future, it's very important to take part in the public consultation whenever the European Commission has a public consultation. Now, for example, we have a public consultation for waters. I have a link here for interested participants. And the days have opened, the deadline has opened up for the program Horizon Europe. As we said earlier on, we actually participated in forming this program. So here we have the deliverables, the results of our participation reflected in the first invitation for the Horizon program. We have info days for the program. I show here the two most relevant info days, 5th and 6th of July and 7th and 8th of July. And obviously, I'm open to questions or clarifications on how we work at CPMR, how we can promote this project, and the priorities, not only for the regions here, but to all other authorities. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm open to any questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Kalognomos. We can now move on to our next invited speaker, who managed to be here online, Mrs. Anastasia Pirchaki, Head of the Water Directorate of Western Greece.
Παρακαλώ να ανοίξετε το μικρόφωνο σας γιατί δεν... Ωραία, ευχαριστούμε.
Καλημέρα σε όλους.
Good morning, Joel. I hope everything goes well today and in general for the project as a whole. On behalf of the Water Directorate of Western Greece, I will present the results of the management plan in summary to give you a picture of this. I'm talking about the first revision of the management plan to see what happens finally in Etolokarnania and in Sterea Ελλάδα in general. I hope I'm doing this correctly. We all know the Framework Directive 2016, based on which in our country we incorporated international law with a law of 2003 and a presidential decree 51, and we managed a little bit late to create the first management plan. The directive has some key targets that represent a holistic approach to water management to protect and upgrade all water bodies. And it incorporates or abolishes previous directives, and it includes all other directives that have to do with swimming waters, underground waters, or pollutants, creating a comprehensive new legislative framework, setting quality, ecological, and quantity targets for upgrading all water bodies through the comprehensive management in the river outflow basins. Each management plan, based on the guidelines of the EU, because the directive alone was not enough. There has been an issuance of dozens of guidelines. So this describes each water outflow basin. We assess the situation, evaluation, classification of water bodies based on the monitoring network. Targets are set, measures are placed, and also exceptions are defined, and common action plans are issued. So this is the common axis of all management plans. In our country, as I said, the first management plan, especially in the water district of Steriailas, which we see here. We see the rivers Achelos, Evinos, Lefkadas, and Mornos. This was approved in 2014, and the first revision took place at the end of 2017. The water basin management plans are strategic projects revised every 6 years in order to evaluate what has improved, what new things need to be taken into account. So in this way, in the first revision, we had changes in how things were handled, things had improved, and we see that in the water basins, the outflow basins of Steriailada in general, we had, based on specific formulas, we defined 126 service systems and 26 underground. Some of them are transitional, 4 of them, and one of them is the lagoon of Mesolongi Etoliko. So these are slightly salty ecosystems. So this is where we see all the river outflow basins. To be able to see a transitional system like the one we're interested in today, it's good to have a comprehensive image of the whole outflow basin to which it belongs, because in this way we can understand why we have the problems we have. I will try briefly to present an overview here. We just show the lagoon of Etoliko and the lagoon of Mesolongi. These two are connected, and we see here the codes of these systems. So once these were classified, the second step in creating a management plan is mapping the sources of pollution. So point sources of pollution and diffuse sources of pollution. In this case, we are interested obviously in point sources of pollution, such as sewage treatment plants, sewage outlets, large factories, industrial facilities, farms, aquaculture facilities, and also diffuse diffuse sources of pollution, such as urban waste and plant farming. Here we see a map with all sources of pollution across the area. So we see in the legend what each of these represents. So essentially, we get an overview of where the sources of pollution are kind of concentrated. And obviously, we see that they are near Achelos, the Achelos River, and quite a few in the traditional water systems that we are interested in. The total annual loads as they were accessed in BOD, N and P from these sources of pollution. We see here for the Achelos River we have the most, the greatest load, the BOD here, TN and PT with the different colors. And we see that the greatest problem comes from wastewater treatment plants. So this is the greatest BOD load, followed by large hotel units, and then the rest. Sorry, the second industrial units, and then the rest. So, to see what's happening around the lagoons, the same pressure is mapped as regards the sewage treatment plants, the bird units, and the cow units, and the waste treatment units, the mining areas, and industries and factories. As we said, we also have diffuse sources of pollution, which have to do with free grazing and agricultural activities, and with non-organized farming. And here too, we see the loads from scattered animals and how important this is for the area in pollution. So, once we evaluate the sources of pollution, to be able to classify the systems of all water systems, so we only focused on surface systems, we have a monitoring network which, in the first management plan issued in 2014, we did not then yet have the data from the national monitoring system, which was placed at the end of 2011. But in the first revision, we used this data, and this shows that in Sterea Elava, we have 65 monitoring stations, functional and monitoring stations. Some monitor only ecological factors, and other ones chemical and ecological factors. We see that we have a monitoring station which used to operate in the past as well in the lagoon of Etoliko and in the lagoon of Messolongi. The results for the period 2012-2015 from the National Monitoring Framework helped in classifying the water systems. And here in this website that you can see is the website of the monitoring system, monitoring network, where you can download all the data. So, since we had the evaluation of the pressure, we took into account the data of the national monitoring system. We classified the systems as regards to chemical condition at first. This includes priority substances and other substances that are established at EU level with the new European directives of 2008 and 2013. And at the same time, we evaluate the ecological condition with the participation, which covers the physical-chemical quality characteristics, biological characteristics, specific pollutants, and hydromorphological features in each water ecosystem, and possible hydromorphological damage. Now, as regards the methodology for classification, we had the participation of ECV and ELKETHE, two Greek research foundations. Now, what changed since from 2014 to 2017? In 2014, we didn't have enough data. So looking at the map of the chemical condition of the systems in 2014 and the initial management plan, we have a lot of gray areas, so no data. But in the first revision, exactly because we had data now, we see that the chemical condition is good in most of the areas. And we have some where we don't have data, such as the Achilles River, which is a transitional system as well. So in the lagoons as well, we see a blue color, which means that the situation is good, but the ecological condition is not good. It was not good because we see the ecological condition in the initial management plan, and we see that the lagoon of Etoliko was orange, so it had many problems. And the Mesologi lagoon was yellow, so average condition. So only looking at these two. And based on the national monitoring system data, we see the ecological condition, and when the ecological condition is less than good, the overall condition of the system is drawn downwards. So, although we had a blue area, a blue color for the lagoon of Mesolongi, now we see that it's orange, so not in good condition, and its overall condition is poor. And the same happens with the whole area of Mesolongi. Now, the two lagoons are part of the register of protected areas. I would like to stress that following the 2060 directive, each management plan includes a national register of protected areas. This includes the areas that concern Natura 2000 areas or Ramsar areas, but also includes areas destined for the protection of maritime species of human importance, swimming waters in this case, and we also have some internal waters, areas sensitive to the presence of pollutants. So the register of protected areas does not only cover the Natura areas. Here, I only inserted an image as regards the species of economic importance, because the lagoon of Mesologi is protected. Because of these, if a system is protected as an area or with species of economic importance, or it's an area with drinking water, for example, there are set actions, allowable actions defined through the management plan, emission limits, etc. So this is the way to further protect some systems. So these are the areas sensitive to nitrogen pollution. We don't have this in Western Greece, but we see in Thessaly and Epirus. And we have sensitive areas. And we see that the lagoon of Etoliko and the lagoon of Messolongi are part of the sensitive areas, which means that any emissions, nitrogen emissions, must be limited. So we're talking about urban waste, processed urban waste, industrial waste. we have very limited emission limits. So if someone wants to get a license, the limits are quite strict. These are the Ramsar areas. And obviously, both lagoons are part of this, and the Natura areas. So since the systems are evaluated and classified, then we see if it's possible for a system in a poor condition or in a moderate condition, if at the end of each management circle, to be improved. So to reach a good state. So if it's evaluated that it's not possible to reach that target in the following 4 or 5 years, the directive gives the ability to classify it as an exception. The environmental targets are set for all systems and for protected areas, as I mentioned before. But what does an environmental target mean? It means that a system that is now in a good condition, we want to maintain this in good condition. And the systems that are in a lesser than good condition should be improved. However, as we said, there's a procedure for exceptions, and the lagoons of Etoliko and of Mesologi are both classified as being at risk, so they are part of the exceptions procedure because the situation cannot change in such a short time, despite, I'll explain why, but despite some measures we are gradually taking. So, as the procedure is being completed, as I mentioned, the management plan includes specific measures. This is a mechanism for achieving the targets set. It has 2 types of measures. Basic measures, so these are applied to all systems, so they are taken into account for the licensing of all units, which might operate in the area and all types of activities in each region, and supplementary measures, which are additional measures to help upgrade the systems that are not in a good condition. Okay. Apart from the basic measures, we also have measures, guideline measures, as we call them. So the obligation to implement all guidelines. Even now, in 2021, we see huge lags as regards compliance with directives. So we don't want this. And the supplementary measures help in improving the condition of the systems. Now, this package of measures does not only concern each water management directorate, but it concerns all environmental services of all levels and a large number of services that are responsible for licensing and financing projects. And there's still a difficulty given that we require a multi-stage procedure to manage to implement all the measures by all authorities, because in each measure might involve 2 or 3 authorities. I am going to focus on 2 measures, 2 supplementary measures, which concern the lagoons of Messolongi and Etoliko. As Mr. Pergandis said, we have some programs that need to be done in central Klisova. Since 2009 already, we had environmental terms which were updated in 2015, and these had studied a series of projects to improve the communication of salty and fresh water and the feeding with fresh water from the pumping stations. And because, as Mr. Pragandis also said, we all know that over time, we know the problems that have been created whenever we have wanted to drain waters from Lysimachia and Trechonida. I'm going back a bit here. Sorry, Mrs. Pirhaki, we're running out of time. Yeah, I'm finishing.
Λοιπόν, ενδεχομένως το γνωρίζουν οι περισσότεροι, η λίμνη Λυσιμαχία που αποστραγγίζει...
So as you know, Lysimachia Lake drains a large area through a tunnel into Etoliko. So given the problems we've had for many years, a proposal was made for a measure, a supplementary measure for a study that would examine decisively if there's an ability to reopen the Lysimachia tunnel so that the public administration could issue a regulatory act. This is a pending issue given the lack of financing. Thank you for your attention. What I want to stress is that given the experience over all these years, we were given many weapons by this directive. We've taken lots of steps as a country, but we have to solve many issues that have to do with human resources and correct financing. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that it didn't tire you too much. I wanted to give you an overview of what's happening at the basin in which the two lagoons operate. Thank you very much for your presentation. At this point, we can have a short break. So we'll be back around about 12. If you're here, we can actually move out to the foyer for coffee and refreshments. But let's have a picture before we go out. Thank you.
Γεια σας και πάλι. Επιστρέφοντας από το διάλειμμα μπορούμε
Good afternoon. So we can now move on to the second session of today's event, starting with a presentation of an overview of the BLUE-GREENWAY project. This presentation shows some general information on the project and its targets. So starting, the financing of the project is the EEA and Norway Grants Fund for Regional Cooperation. The priority axis is the environment, energy, climate change, low carbon emissions economy. The full name of the title is BLUE-GREENWay, Innovative Solutions for Improving the Environmental Status of Eutrophic and Anoxic Coastal Ecosystems. It's headed by the LK of the University of Patras. It started in 2020, ends in 2023, covering 36 months. And its total budget is €1,559,000. What is BLUE-GREENWay? It addresses common challenges for sea and marine pollution in eutrophic and anoxic coastal ecosystems so blue from land pollution, and also focuses on the green promotion of products and services. So with these two axes, through the project, we will manage to change the existing situation in pollution. With the application of new methods, we will restore the coastal ecosystems and manage waste. Finally, we will transmit innovative methods of management at a transnational level. Now, specifically, the targets of the BLUE-GREENWay project have to do with short-term measures for restoration at sea. So, management of pollution problems in waters and waste, emphasis on monitoring systems and restoration methods in the pilot areas, the exchange of knowledge regarding the use of innovative materials, and the restoration of ecosystems by achieving blue water targets. Then, through hydrological basin measures, we will emphasize on identifying green products and services and green means for promoting ecological innovation. We will exchange knowledge on the use of innovative materials, and we will implement new procedures to achieve a green hydrological basin. Now, let's have a look at the structure. As we said, as Mr. Zacharias said, the lead partner is the University of Patras Special Account for Research Grants. The two beneficiary partners are Fisheries Local Action Group Danube Delta and Atlantis Perivalon Kikinotomia Limited. Another partner from Greece, an expertise partner, is the European Public Law Organization. And we also have two expertise partners from Norway, Sindef Ocean and Fungo Norway AS. Now, the pilot applications are two in Greece. On the one hand, we have Mesologi Etolikion. This is in Greece. Here we see two photographs of the region. And then we have another pilot area in Liopetre of Cyprus. And a photograph from there, and another one. Now, the expected results of the BLUE-GREENWay are the improvement of the environmental condition in the supported ecosystems, specifically the monitoring of the quality of water, hydrodynamic and ecological numerical modeling, development of an early warning system, treatment of eutrophication in seawater, the processing of farming waste, and a template procurement tender. Then we will have a platform for e-procurement, a tool for electronic procurement, common pilot actions for the e-tool, technical meetings to exchange knowledge on the results of the pilot applications, and a roadmap for the broader absorption of the integrated EGPPP platform. Then another target is to support collaboration and knowledge exchange between participating countries. Specifically, through living labs, we will transfer knowledge and good practices. We will create a capitalization plan, and we will transfer knowledge through seminars and capitalization workshops and increase the skills of partners through synergies and collaborations. Thank you. Now we can move on to the next section, which is a brief presentation of the partners of the Blue-Green-Way through their videos, starting with the University of Patras, and then from Romania, from Cyprus, and EPLO from Greece again. Good morning. This is a presentation of the University of Patra from the Blue-Greenway project. The University of Patras is a multidisciplinary higher education institution. The Department of Civil Engineering offers the best possible education to its students, prepares them for lifelong learning, service to society, and responsible leadership. It is dedicated to excellence in creating, collecting, preserving, and disseminating knowledge in civil engineering. We have resources and experience for coordinating and participating in international projects, such as Interreg and other EU projects. Our team has expertise in state-of-the-art and best practices in environmental technologies, environmental engineering, ecosystem restoration, feasibility studies, user needs and requirements, evaluation and impact analysis. On this slide, we see our team's selected past projects. On this slide, we see some of our team's ongoing projects. Our team has experience in other Blue-Greenway Phasma project. We were leader of the Blue Phasma project. Blue Phasma is about rethinking circularity. Blue Phasma aspires to trigger change in the fishing aquaculture sector of Mediterranean islands and coastal areas by reinforcing the adaptation of circular economy practices. Blue Phasma tackles the challenges of continuing depletion of natural resources and the low Mediterranean CE innovation performance in fishing aquaculture by empowering innovation capacity of SMEs, maritime clusters networks, and public authorities to boost Blue CE growth. The Blue Phasma project was launched in November 2019 and ends in June 2022. We have also been a partner in relevant environmental projects as a partner in cyber centers, sensors for monitoring the freshwater bodies in a catchment area. LIS, Lagoon Information Systems. C was for D, Water for Development, and KRIPIS, Development of a Help System and Coastal Zone Management Assistance System. The University of the UPatras and the BLUE-GREENWAY project. The University of Patras has a clear scientific role in the project as its staff consists of professors, PhD candidates, and scientific researchers. Their expertise extends over a wide range of subjects. The University of Patras, as lead partner, will be responsible for the project's coordination, for the research and production of the geoengineering materials, and for the activities in the lagoon of Mesologi Etoliko pilot site. The University of Patras will also be responsible for the development and integration of a transnational database to unify the needs and applications in the study area and to be used for transferring the project results across European regions. An online tool with smart characteristics and functionalities, focusing on the analysis, assessment, and classification of green products based on their characteristics and supporting their procurement, and a tool for users to implement green criteria in tenders, thus affecting the quality of waters. Thank you for your attention.
Good morning. This is a presentation of Flag Download data for the BLUE-GREENWAY project. Local Group for Sustainable Fishing in the Download Delta, Flag Download Delta, has a great experience in the fishing sector in Romania with the aim of developing a competitive, modern, and dynamic sector based on sustainable fishing and aquaculture activities, taking into account all aspects of environmental protection, social development, and economic prosperity. Flag Dambu Delta has a great experience in the implementation of local development strategy funded by Fisheries Operational Program, covering a wide area and dealing with a number of problems that characterize the fisheries and aquaculture sectors across Romania. Commercial fishing has increased dramatically over the last 5 decades worldwide, and eutrophication can interact synergetically, cause an impact greater than the sum of the individual parts because of the following. 1. Commercial fishing removes filter feeding bivalves, thus reducing the ecosystem's capacity to remove excess nutrients. And 2, eutrophication simplifies food webs, making ecosystems more vulnerable, forcing from commercial fishing. Flag Dambu Delta is an NGO with research activities in the restoration of the ecosystem Dambu Delta. Flag Dambu Delta can learn from BLUE-GREENWAY innovative solutions for combating eutrophication and anoxia in order to disseminate the project results in the Dambu Delta area, which over many years is suffering from both of these problems, since Black and Baltic Seas have the greatest eutrophication and anoxia problems in Europe. In this slide, you can see other projects Flag Dambu Delta has participated. Flag Dambu Delta role in the BLUE-GREENWAY project. Fisheries Local Action Group Dambu Delta, Flag Dambu Delta, is a work package leader of Working Package 2, Communication. Flag Dambu Delta's role in the BLUE-GREENWAY project is to develop a communication plan presenting a common methodology for communication and dissemination to diffuse the project activities, achievements, and outcomes. Aiming to connect the project and the public, the partners involve stakeholders in project activities and achieve sustainability and transfeasibility of the project's results. In close interaction with other project partners, FLAG will be responsible for dissemination actions of project results in order to inform their members and all other target groups on the innovative solutions presented by the project. They will also be responsible for the development of a toolkit of educational material that will be available for knowledge sharing. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Karalambos Panagiotou. I'm the manager of Atlantis Environment and Innovation based in Cyprus. The company was created in 2000 with the main purpose of providing environmental management and environmental legal compliance services. The company is active mainly in Cyprus, but also has done work in several other countries such as Lebanon, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Cameroon, and Greece. The company is part of a larger group designed to provide integrated services in the field of environment. In addition to environmental management, environmental legal compliance that Atlantis is doing, we have the company PCH projects and the associated companies Greenovate, which are dealing with the matters of promotion of eco-innovation and the technology transfer related to eco-innovative solutions. And Vacuum Cyprus is dealing mostly with the management of hazardous waste. The company has created expertise in several fields. One of those is environmental modeling and assessment. We have significant experience and capacities in water quality modeling, air quality modeling, and environmental noise. We have also created significant experience and know-how in the fields of biodiversity management. Among others, we have done work for the government of Cyprus for work relevant to the creation of Natura 2000 sites, management plans for Natura 2000 sites. We have participated in the desertification risk mapping of Cyprus, and we have done quite a bit of work on hydrology and water management, especially related to climate change. We have also done quite a bit of work on environmental restoration, concentrating mainly on the landfills and waste disposal areas. In addition to the consultancy work, we participate on a regular basis in research programs where we mostly facilitate the exploitation and innovation management part of the work. In some cases, we actually undertake also technical aspects of the project, especially when it comes to environmental modeling and monitoring. The company is staffed with 8 scientists and engineers related all to the field of the environment. And we're also supported by a wide network of external associates, both in Cyprus and abroad. In the BLUE-GREENWAY project, Atlantis is responsible for the capitalization work package. As the title says, the purpose of this work package is to prepare the market or the stakeholders to the largest possible degree to be able to capitalize or use the results. The capitalization can be in the way of commercial use, commercial exploitation, of awareness purposes, of educational purposes. The digitalization activity has different types of actions. The first one is, of course, to develop a good and concise set of deliverables to the project. The higher the quality of the results, the best the opportunities will be for end users to actually take them up. Once this is done, however, it is our job through the capitalization workshop to produce those communication tools and to take over communication and dissemination activities so that we inform stakeholders and potential end users to the highest possible degree about the results and the usefulness of the project. This will facilitate taking up all these the tools that will be developed by the appropriate stakeholders. We have a certain number of activities in this direction. Thematic seminars and workshops are one type of activity, and they aim mainly to inform stakeholders about the project, its purposes, and the results that we'll achieve. A final event, the same direction, will be organized at the end of the project. Capacity building has to do with developing knowledge and familiarity about the project tools to potential end users. We will, of course, help them to decide whether they or not they would like to use these tools, and we will help them to actually use them once they decide that they will take them up. A certain number of activities and a lot of effort is going to be put into networking. This is quite important because creating awareness and doing events during the course of the project is of course important, but it's only the start. We're going to have to create a long-standing network through which we can promote the tools of the project, and we can support potential end users to take these technologies up. Atlantis is also responsible to support the University of Patra in developing their green procurement tool. The first thing that needs to be done is developing green criteria for the products and processes that the project is going to deal with. We're at this time dealing with eutrophication of coastal waters. So the scope of the green procurement criteria and tool will be the products and processes around coastal areas which pose a risk of eutrophication. And course, once these products and services are selected, we need to proceed with creating green criteria for them. Criteria can be of two types, can be procedural or it can be performance-based. Procedural have to do with providing and following quality criteria and management processes to make sure that the product goes through a certain amount of due diligence and ensure that it is environmentally friendly. Performance-based criteria are more strict. They have quantitative thresholds, and they have to do with verifying that any product meets specifications that have to do with the chemicals that they've been used, with the amount of chemicals that have been released into the environment, and they will be associated with regulatory or voluntary limits. The quantitative limits are usually difficult to define because eutrophication is a difficult issue to assess. And so quantitative limits might sound like the best option initially, but it is possible that in the end will create a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity about the criteria and will be countereffective. Assessment and verification of the criteria is also a very important issue. If we are going to put any types of specifications and requirements on a product to verify environmental performance, then we need to make sure that there's appropriate protocols and guidance on how to evaluate the performance of the product or service. In addition to the criteria, Atlantis is also responsible for implementing water quality monitoring and modeling in the area of your battery, and to implement a pilot in the same area to assess the potential benefits of implementing the BLUE-GREENWAY technologies for protecting against eutrophication. Modeling will be undertaken using 3D dynamic models. Water quality monitoring is being done through a set of chemical analysis implemented on a systematic monthly basis, and it concerns nutrients in the coastal marine waters and in incoming waters from nearby streams. Thank you very much.
Good morning. This is a presentation of BLUE-GREENWAY Norway for the BLUE-GREENWAY project. BLUE-GREENWAY Norway AS Trondheim branch is a high technology company specialized in design, development, manufacture, and service provider of the seawater multi-parameter platform and products for the monitoring of the marine environment. The Trondheim branch has a multidisciplinary team with 36 employees with diverse backgrounds specialized in meteorology and oceanography science, water quality, software, electrical and mechanical engineering. The company has over 35 years of international experience working with the public and private sector, also establishing long-term cooperation with the majority of our main customers, international institutions and agencies in applied meteorology and oceanography in India, Spain, Portugal, Greece, and China. Fugro Norway AS is 100% owned by Fugro NV, located in the Netherlands, a global leader in the provision of the meteocean structural and environmental services and systems, provided on a fully integrated worldwide basis to meet and support specific client needs. The role of Fugro Norway in the BLUE-GREENWAY project. Fugro Norway is an expertise partner in the project. Fugro Norway's main responsibility in the project is working package 4, water quality monitoring, forecasting and treatment. In this working package, they will develop, manufacture, install, and implement, together with other measurements and simulation models, an early warning system for coastal areas exposed to hypoxia and anoxia. The system will be placed in a Toliko lagoon and will consist of a floating platform equipped with sensors measuring relevant parameters in the air and in the water column, and communication system transmitting the data in real time to a receiving station. The work consists of the following. A. Development and manufacture a floating platform to receive the sensors. B. Install and implement real-time water quality monitoring data in Etoliko. C. Development of a communication system transmitting real-time data. D. Tuning system to local conditions and personnel training. In this slide, you can see some monitoring platforms within the Fugro Norway company. Here, you can see the chosen platform for the Etoliko Lagoon. Its structure consists of the following: antennas, passive radar reflector, mast, boiler, floating body, subsea sensor well, solar panel, lifting clamp. The chosen monitoring platform consists of sensors measuring wind, air temperature, humidity, air pressure, CTD, and dissolved oxygen. In this slide, you can see the deployment by Downing of the monitoring platform SW-MID 185. It is shown the moment when the weight is ready to be dropped within the aquatic ecosystem. Together we create a safe and livable world. Thank you.
Καλημέρα σας από τη μακρινή Νορβηγία.
Good morning from Norway. I am Christos Stefanakos and I work as Senior Research Scientist at Sintef Ocean. This speech is part of the seminar organized by the University of Patras for the BLUE-GREENWAY European Project Innovative Solutions for Improving the Environmental Status of Eutrophic and Anoxic Coastal Ecosystems. SINDEF is one of the largest research organizations in Europe, with more than 4,000 customers in more than 60 countries and 2,000 employees from 75 nationalities, 3/4 of which are research scientists, and most of which are PhD holders. We work in the largest part of applied research, technology, and innovation. For example, we have renewable energy, ocean space, climate and environment, oil and gas, industrial applications, health, buildings and infrastructure, society, materials, digitalization, micro, nano, biotechnology, and transport. It's an independent, non-for-profit research institute. its vision is technology for a better society, as it reports from the expertise from ocean space to outer space. Our ambition is to be a world-leading research institute. More than 90% of our income comes from contracts won in open competition. Only 7% is state-funded from the Research Council of Norway. We invest our profits in laboratories and knowledge generation. SINTEF is certified by the international organization DVNGL by ISO 9001, 14001 and OCH. Its organization chart is a group comprised of 7 institutes, one of which is SINTEF Ocean. Our institute does research for social industries, for ocean industries, such as fishing, fisheries, aquaculture, food culture for fisheries, environmental pollution and management technologies, maritime, oil and gas platforms, offshore wind parks, not only wind and but also solar and hydrogen, floating bridges, submarine installations, and more. In this research program, SINTEF Oceans has a marine modeling and analysis group with the participation of the following persons presented in the slide. The group has great competence in modeling, analysis, and simulation of environmental data, including, amongst others, ocean currents, tides, waves, wind temperature, salinity, density, oxygen, phyto and zooplankton, algae, etc. The group has developed and maintains the in-house hydrodynamic 3D ocean model SINMOD since 1987. The model is a fully coupled ocean model with hydrodynamics, ecology, and sea ice. Validation of the model has been performed throughout all these years using not only environmental measurements, but also data of primary production. The continuous treatment of a large amount of environmental data has enabled us to develop a vast variety of theoretical statistical tools appropriate for analysis, simulation, prediction of other sources of data. Our contribution to this project is in working package for water quality. As part of this project, a hydrodynamic and an ecological model will be run for the Etoliko pilot and then will be simulated using SINMOD, a marine model, which is a coupled 3D hydrodynamic and biological model. Evaluation of SINMOD model results will be performed based on observed events. We will also identify all these data and treat it. Thank you very much for your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Yorgos Krimblis. I am a member of the board of the European Public Law Organization. It's the European Public Law Organization, and I am the professor, the President Emeritus of the Institute of Circular Economy and Climate Change, established in the framework of this organization. The European Public Law Organization is an international organization based in Greece, in Athens, with facilities in 3 different points of Attica. We are an international organization with the participation of 17 EU countries, 7 public authorities, and 73 universities and institutes. So it's not a classic international organization with the participation only of countries, but we have the participation of institutes and other authorities, and of course, We have on our board the European Commission and the Council of Europe. Since the aim of our organization is to create all the conditions for good governance, for the state of law, which is something that we need in every country, for the protection of human rights, the transfer of good practices and know-how, and of course, the participation in programs, both European and international, financed by the European Union and other institutions. Up until now, we have participated in more than 200 programs and activities in more than 70 countries, and its contribution has been important because it has this unique feature of having the know-how through a scientific personnel that is of very high quality, with extensive expertise in public law, in climate protection, in environmental protection, in sustainable development goals, the EU Sustainable Development Law. And of course, the Circular Economy Institute is one of the institutes that promote all issues that are high at the top of the agenda of the EU with the Green Deal and the climate law, given that the circular economy is the vehicle through which it can help achieve the goals of the Green Deal and of the climate law. So in this sense, the Public Law Organization, the Circular Economy and Climate Change Institute are reliable partners for participating in such programs with recognized added value. And obviously, we would like to see a collaboration with you to manage to have successful outcomes for these initiatives and this program. Thank you. The Circular Economy and Climate Change Institute of the EPLO promotes circular practices and the climate and environmental diplomacy to be able to integrate circular economy in all sectors of regional, national and international practices. The aim of the Institute is to adapt local governments and societies and private stakeholders to the new model of circular economy, aiming to promote investments in this field and create new jobs of high specialization. The role of the Institute is to offer technical help, to promote best practices in the circular economy, offer environmental consultancy services, manage financed projects by the EU, and public and private investment in green growth and the blue economy, to offer legal advice and legal representation in all environmental issues in cases of environmental breaches and penalties. At the same time, within 2022, the Institute is co-organizer of the Greek Housetos as part of the Davos World Economic Forum, where it aims to highlight the national policies at a global level and to achieve synergies as part of the BLUE-GREENWAY project. As part of this project, our institute contributes decisively to the communication of the actions of the project, making its innovative actions accessible to all, coordinating its participation in conferences to disseminate knowledge, and the Institute wants to include the results of the BLUE-GREENWAY project in its effort to promote green growth and the blue economy. This will be managed in two ways: by contributing to formulating policy proposals that will come through the results of the project, and using the Circular Med Forum, where it will invite all stakeholders and representatives of civil society and other authorities to discuss issues of green growth and the blue economy, in the context of which discussions we will promote best practices based on the deliverables of the project. So with completing the presentation of the partners of the BLUE-GREENWAY project, we would like to thank you very much for preparing these presentations, and we can now move on with a presentation by Mr. Ierotheos Zacharias, professor at the Department of Civil Engineering and the lead partner of the BLUE-GREENWAY project. Hello again. Today, I'm going to talk a bit about how this whole idea started and how it became a proposal which ended up being financed. It all started a few years ago as the only reason for which I used to go to Mesologia Anatoliko was because it's a beautiful area. It's an area with great natural beauty, and no matter where you look, even from a high up in the sky, it's a unique area that is well worth visiting because it's truly remarkable. But apart from its beauty and the lovely fish we can enjoy, I realized that it has a lot of problems, much like any other area, and these problems started popping up in newspaper articles throughout Greece, such as in the Vema, which stated that that there are chemical pollutants poisoning the lagoon of Etoliko. So I realized that such a beautiful area is endangered. So I started taking an interest, visiting more often, off season during the spring. And the picture then was not so good as I had been used to when I used to go there. So I understood that it has an intense problem of phytoplankton blooming, which is very much discussed now because we see similar things happening in the Black Sea. And it has unique problems such as this here. And we see here in the pictures by Mrs. Galanis in 2012. It's an anoxic crisis. So the lagoon was full of sulfur. It's a very dangerous situation, which is dangerous for humans as well, but it's disastrous for ecosystems. As you see, it led to mass deaths of fish and the complete destruction of the ecosystem and fishing. So what's happening in that lagoon? It's so beautiful, but why does it have so many problems? So I started measuring various parameters. We set up a team and we started doing measurements at 14 stations to look at physical, chemical and chemical parameters, waves, currents, etc. The first thing I realized, and I was astonished, is the distribution of oxygen in water depending on depth. We see a diagram with depth in the x-axis, and we see that under 7 meters, in all 12 months of the year, there is no oxygen, which means that nothing lives. It's a dead area. So under a certain depth, there's nothing. Apart from that, that's not the only bit of bad news. When there's no oxygen, as you see in this chart, the black line is the oxygen, the red line is hydrogen, sulfur. So as oxygen goes down, so that goes up. So there's an important problem of eutrophication and of chemical pollution. So it started in this way. So I started doing measurements throughout different months of the year. On the x-axis, we have the time, and on the y-axis, the depth. So with black, we see the lack of oxygen, which, as you see, covers a great depth of the area throughout a very long time of the year, throughout the year. It's a permanently anoxic area, and the anoxicity from the depth of 7 meters. Apart from the time, I saw that the volume of anoxic water accounts for 50 to 55% of the water of the Etoliko lagoon. So it's dead. Did this always used to happen? Or is it a new thing? In 1970s, as we see in literature, Leontares measured anoxicity at 17 meters, and only 17 of the water was anoxic. In 1995, Silovakos measured 55% as anoxic, and in 2004, Halkas said that 65% is anoxic, which means that the anoxicity is rising. But what's happening? Let's see, is that a problem unique to Etoliko? Looking at international literature, as researchers like to do, we see that it's not a unique area in this very interesting area, the Gulf of Mexico. In science, we see that it's published as being a dead zone. In science again, in 2008, we see an article by Diaz and Rosenberg spreading dead zones throughout the world. And they say that no other environmental parameter with such ecological significance, such as oxygen, has not changed so dramatically over such a short period of time. So there is an important issue of oxygen lack, not only in Etoliko, which I was studying. It concerns the whole world. And the spatiotemporal development of the loss of oxygen can be seen in the same paper in Science. In 2019, 20 scientists returned with another article in Science and stated that oxygen is declining in the global ocean and coastal waters. So the problem is continuing and growing. Here we see a global map showing hypoxia, anoxia regions. Now, as regards the global distribution of anoxia, the authors note that it seems to be correlated with large cities, which does not happen in Etoliko, and with regions with river catchments, large, which have a lot of salts. So does any of these things happen in Etoliko? Yes. If we have a look at the catchment of Etoliko, we see that apart from the eastern side, which has an intense hydrographic network, on the western side, it has very large irrigated areas, which through the pumping stations created, flow out all their drained waters to the lagoon of Etoliko. So indeed, we're talking about large quantities. Only D6 in Etoliko releases 12 million cubic meters of outflows from the irrigation systems. So Etoliko is a characteristic small case, like larger areas such as the Black Sea or the Baltic, which have exactly the same problem, but in Etoliko, because it's smaller, the problem is much bigger. So the production of pollutants is much greater. But what caused this problem? What created the situation? It seems that the cause is eutrophication and some other wrong things that have happened in this area, about which we're going to talk at some other point. What is eutrophication? It's an increase in primary phytoplankton, which finds a lot of food because all these salts are exactly what they need to grow. So what happens? It blooms, it covers the surface, as I showed you in the photographs. It then falls down, decomposes, and binds oxygen to decompose. So we have a condition, as Mrs. Pirgaki said in the morning, of a poor condition, and we see here various indicators. This is the Coastal Waters Index, that the water quality in Etoliko is bad, not even moderate and not good. Is this dangerous? Is there something we can do about it? Let's go back to our favorite hobby, reading literature, and we see that in Nature, the journal, there is an article explaining why regions that suffer from eutrophication have a reduction in biodiversity and a reduction in the numbers of fish, simply because all these kinds of types of fish, not all of them can live in deep water, so surface fish vanish. What do we need to do? In the Science Journal, an article was published controlling eutrophication, nitrogen, and phosphorus. We need to control it. It's the only way to do it. As Mrs. Pirgaki said, we do have laws on this, which pave the way. And in England, they seem to have chosen this way I'm going to describe now. They understand that they cannot meet the targets of the directive. It's impossible. As it's impossible, as Mrs. Pirgaki said, to make exceptions for all the water systems. So if they see that they can't meet the targets, to exempt them all. How can we exempt them all? It's impossible, because eutrophication is truly a big problem for all countries. So in England, they decided to apply restoration methods that make the things faster. So they won't leave nature alone to restore itself, but they will try to help it. What are the proposals of the BLUE-GREENWAY project for this? There are two targets: to control the production of phytoplankton through the control of nutrient salts, so trying to control all phosphorus and nitrogen as much as possible in order to reduce the production of phytoplankton, and secondly, to improve water clarity so that we can have photosynthesis, and this photosynthesis will create oxygen. Because the problem is that phytoplankton makes water darker, you can't have enough sunlight for photosynthesis, so then we have anoxia. So the proposal is to neutralize phosphorus and nitrogen. So we see on the left, for example, a bloody area with lots of phytoplankton. We need to manage to have a clear area. This what we see here is called a Secchi disk. It measures water translucency in the sea. So you see how clear the waters are. So if we could find some materials that, when placed, natural materials, when we place them in the water, will manage to absorb these pollutants so that these nutrients are not available to phytoplankton and we don't see such phytoplankton growth. What are the actions of the project? We need to monitor water quality. As we saw earlier on, there will be a device will be placed in a toliko. It's a high quality, high accuracy, resilient device, because we're talking about an area with anoxia and nitrogen. It's a difficult conditions for sensors. So we believe that in this way, we will manage to monitor water quality and the height of anoxia. So we will be able to see if we have a rise in anoxia, so if we have a decrease in oxygen. With the help of SINDEF and the numerical models, we will be able to see how water renewal will be increased. So if we have more clear water entering a toliko to increase water quality. An early warning system. So this sensor will be connected to a center that will provide information where anoxia is too high, and in combination with meteorological data will raise an alarm to warn that there might be an anoxic crisis in the area, as I showed you with the yellow water in the lagoon. There will be a series of proposals for materials that could be very suitable for the area and in general for other areas, depending on the quality of water, so that they can absorb nitrogen and phosphorus and limit their bioavailability to phytoplankton. There will also be proposals for the depollution of drained water from pumping stations that throw in a lot of water with phosphorus and nitrogen, and of course actions in the hydrological area to reduce pollutants from the hydrological catchment to the area. So people need to learn that nitrogen and phosphorus are elements that need to be limited as much as possible, because they might be good for land, but they're bad for the sea. So a combination of actions at sea and on land, we believe that will help to address this problem for the area of study and as a methodology for the restoration of eutrophic areas. Thank you. If there are any questions or comments or queries, I don't know, we could contact us through the social media and we could answer them. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Zacharias, for your presentation. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Ioannis Manariotis, Professor of the Department of Civil Engineering, who is going to talk about the removal of nutrients from treated wastewater and irrigation water with innovative methodologies.
Προχώρησα λίγο μπροστά.
I moved slightly ahead. Thank you very much. So the aim of today's presentation is to discuss the removal of nutrients from treated wastewater and irrigation drainage water using innovative processes, and to see what we can do regarding pollution from point or diffuse sources. We all know that eutrophication is caused by nitrogen and phosphorus. One of the main sources is point sources of pollution, such as treated wastewater and irrigation water, and of course wastewater treatment plants, which in turn aggravate the problem through the concentration in nitrogen and phosphorus. So we're going to see the concentrations of nutrients that we can have in irrigation water and in treated wastewater, and to see how we can manage this and how we are thinking of at our laboratory of studying these issues. Irrigation water, depending on the season and the crops we have large concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus and other elements. We see here some values from an area in Western Greece, Agoulinitsa. And these waters cause significant problems when they spread out, and this, which could be a closed ecosystem. Similarly, we might have significant problems with treated wastewater, depending on the type of processing. We can have ammonia salts. If there's nitrification at the facilities, we will have nitrates. And of course, we might have facilities aiming to completely remove nitrogen. And in these cases, the concentration of nitrogen are lower, especially if we're talking about wastewater treatment plants where we have the removal of phosphorus. The problem is smaller, but this does not happen in all cases. There are quite a few facilities where we don't have the removal of these pollutants. So there we need to see what we can do. So if we're talking about treated wastewater, we might have very high concentrations of pollutants. We see some values here from the wastewater treatment plant of the University of Patras, where because we have nitration, we have a low count, but we do have significant concentrations of phosphorus. And this is an interesting point if we're dealing with wastewater. So our aim, is just, the simple aim is to remove the nutrients from the water, and that's it. But we need to kind of think from a circular economy viewpoint and to talk about these pollutants that cause eutrophication. Can we remove them from the wastewater, but can we use these pollutants that we are removing? Could we remove from nutrients from the water and then use these nutrients for something else, for a beneficial use? For example, by removing nutrients, we might have a material that could be a very good fertilizer. So we should think about this as well when we're designing some systems to see how we can recover nutrients through the various processes we use. In the context of the program, we're looking at eco-friendly methods. There are methods based on natural treatment systems. They're quite trendy as well to use such systems, such as, for example, photogranules, or using artificial biochar, not just pebbles. So this increases their efficiency. And finally, let's have a look. We need to have a look at the materials and systems that could remove the nutrients from such waters based on biomass. So to create materials through pyrolysis and to see how these materials behave if they're suitable to remove nutrients. So a couple of things about photogranules. Essentially, what we're doing there, we're following nature's example with eutrophication. What do we want to do? We want, under controlled conditions, to develop microalgae, which remove the nutrients, and then to take these algae and to use them in a way to restore the nutrients. Now, biochar, as it's known, is quite suitable and efficient in removing various pollutants, be they metals or organic compounds, through the selection of suitable materials, such as different types of biomass. We can create materials, biochar, with good characteristics as regards the removal of nutrients, and in parallel to modify these materials to have better efficiency. At our laboratory now, we're working on 3 different materials. Coffee, coffee that we drink, coffee residue, which is very easy to find. Eggshell, because they have a great concentration in calcium, they are suitable for this. And rice shells, and these undergo pyrolysis at different temperatures, and then we see how they behave in removing nutrients. Biochar is made after drying our biomass at 50 degrees, and then it undergoes pyrolysis at high temperatures in ceramic pots under restricted oxygen conditions, and then it's ground and sieved, and then we see what it can do to absorb nutrients. Now, to make this process more efficient, we enrich the materials with magnesium and calcium to improve their efficiency in removing nutrients. And then we do various experiments to see how they behave, and then we do larger scale experiments. Now let's have a look at some results as regards biochar from rice grain enriched with magnesium. As regards phosphorus, can see, I think on the left chart, the biochar on the left is at 400 degrees and on the right at 800 degrees. And we've used this for ammonia and for phosphorus, and we see quite a good behavior. And here we want to improve things even more. But we see that at least as regards phosphorus and ammonia, we have quite a good behavior. The experiments we've conducted without modified biochar were not as good. So we need to help the biochar in some way to be able to use the nitrogen and phosphorus. In older articles, with unmodified biochar works well for organic compounds, but with these nutrients, it's more difficult. Now, another core action in the project is the creation of natural systems. We work a lot with microalgae, and we have reactors with biofilms on various surfaces to see how they behave in removing not only nutrients, but organic compounds as well. And we've worked with various substrates, and we see very good behavior. And we move a step ahead to build a system to see how microalgae at high concentrations behave. Here we see what we did. We had we created a system with microalgae and treated a wastewater treatment plant, and we see how it developed over time. And these have a very high concentration, and we see that as regards nutrients and as regards photosynthesis of microalgae, we have very high growth and good efficiency in removing nutrients. Now, we recently tried systems with microalgae in very high concentrations. These are microalgae created at our laboratory. We managed to reach very high concentrations, so 6-7 grams per liter. And this system reacts very well, especially to the removal of nutrients. And one of its advantages is that we can very easily separate the algae from the processed water. In general, in these systems, the natural systems, we have a problem in separating the algae from the water, and this is its problem. Usually we can't remove them very easily from the water, so then they spread out. But here we have the ability, given the biomass developed in granules and threads, we have a good separation of the algae and the water. So we see here various types, monocellular, multicellular developed, and these work in the system we've created. In this diagram, we have a look at the recent results of our studies. We see that at low concentrations, too high or too low, these had to do with the concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus. So in a short period of time, in this natural processing system, we manage quite a good percentage of removal of phosphorus and of nitrates. It seems that the system with right adjustment could be quite a good low-cost system to reduce the concentration of nitrates in irrigation water or wastewater, treated wastewater, to remove nutrients. Based on results so far, we see that modified biochar have quite a good result in removing phosphorus and nitrates and nitrogen. And then we're going to have more experiments to see how we can improve the nitrate removal mechanism. And the microalgae we use have very good sedimentation characteristics, and it's very easy to remove them from the water. As regards what we're going to do in the future, we want to optimize the removal of nutrients at low and high concentrations with biochar and modified biochar to see how microalgae behave in tanks, so to build a system that could operate to improve the quality of treated wastewater and the removal of nutrients from irrigation water. And the third aim is to see how we could improve, to integrate a system based on artificial wetlands to remove nutrients from treated wastewater, so to create and operate an artificial wetland that, apart from natural materials will also have biochar, and we will see how this best works to create a natural system that will be able to work on site and, for example, to accept water from an irrigation channel and to allow better removal of nutrients. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Manariotis, for your presentations. Are there any questions from here or from our attendees online? I think not. So we can move on with the last presentation of today's event, which is by Professor Yorgos Stefanidis from the Department of Civil Engineering of the University of Patra. He will talk about the procurement system and the design and development of the e-procurement tool. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for my presentation to load. Okay, we've heard quite a lot, so I believe that we understand that green or blue growth comes at a cost. Nothing is free. So, if we are to use resources and energy, we need to take into account the need to use tools, suitable tools, that will result in getting what we want, so growth, green and blue growth with respect for the environment. In the first part of this presentation, we will see why it's useful to have a green e-procurement tool. Here we see the need to monitor this green procurement system from the demand and from the supply side. So, on the demand side, we see exactly what green needs are from users. We heard about who could be a user as regards the following problems. So at this point in demand, we need to promote ecological innovation through new methods. On the supply side, we need to confirm that we can follow green procurement rules for products and services. So rules that will result in products and services that don't have an impact on the environment from the onset. So there's a need to satisfy the necessary conditions to apply solutions for the needs we mentioned. Now, the second part of the presentation will discuss tools for green electronic procurements, which might be useful for the above purposes. Now, these tools can be divided in four sections. These are where we will work in this project, and we will have specific results, aiming to facilitate and broaden the results of the project's operations. The first is a green procurement model. The second, a unified platform. The third, a green e-procurement toolkit. And the fourth, a living laboratory. So starting with the green procurement model, for this project. This is a platform network for the friendly exchange of information between users about These can be SMEs, public authorities, about the problems we've mentioned. The purpose of this exchange of information is to improve the environmental condition and to continuously and efficiently exchange information. So this is what we call transnational network. It's a technique that we've applied in the past with very good results in other projects in the Mediterranean. This model, based on which this first section is based, has 3 development stages. In the first, we identify the existing situation and possible best practices, or the practices we use. The second is to set specifications for green procurements, so for services and products that are necessary henceforth if we want to act on the source of the problem. And third, we set green criteria for e-procurements, which criteria will be followed in future tenders, procurements, etc. Now, the second section level is the development of a unified platform. This includes 3 points. The first is a database of knowledge for users that need it. So a knowledge database that can facilitate users, that can be public authorities or cooperatives or anyone who needs products and services, to follow specific criteria. A second section in this unified platform is a solutions database offered by the market currently, or the solutions that we offer in other sections of the same project. And these solutions can allow for options to be available from suppliers, which are usually SMEs. And third, but no less significant, we will develop a life cycle cost tool that can be used to calculate the cost of each option, which can be a product or a service, from the moment it is created until the moment it reaches the end of its useful life. The third part I mentioned has to do with the Green e-procurement toolkit. Let's look back again. I talked about the model, the platform, and now we're looking at the Green e-procurement toolkit. So this toolkit has also 3 development stages. First, the parameterization and upgrading of the existing tools, then the development of manual and the unification of solutions so that all our proposals can be used by the users, who can be very advanced technologically, or they can be simple farmers. So the third stage is the creation of a green e-procurement toolkit, which can be made available online and will offer smart features to be usable easily by users. This is very important. Then we will have this living laboratory for knowledge dissemination. Living laboratories in general facilitate performance in the development of other systems because they oblige users. And this could be a living laboratory here today if we had the time and perhaps the right temperature to have a discussion. Obviously, it's not, conditions are not conducive now, but if we had a discussion today, it would have been very useful. So I'm not going to tire you anymore. So this living laboratory aims and has us to have a great performance because participants will delve into the subject by participating actively. And we as organizers return to this with further meetings, taking into account what everyone has said. So now we reach the end of the presentation, which concerns the integration of applied e-procurement tools from previous works we've conducted in other sectors that relate to the environment. So this is specifically apart from the project, the Blue Farms Map project we talked about earlier on. We can talk about the GRASP and the GRASPino projects. And there's another one that's just been approved, GRASPino Plus, in which projects we have developed methods to support, as we said, public authorities and SMEs. The public authorities to understand how they can seek what they want and not something else. And on the other hand, for SMEs to see how they can truly take part in tenders where they will support their own products that are good for the environment without being afraid that other companies will offer lower prices to achieve, to sign the deal for their own products. There are such tools. Only going to show you some pictures here. We have a server at the Department of Civil Engineering. We have more and more users added and use these tools. I'm just showing some pictures, which can be used even for tenders. If you enter your name and your needs, and you select from the database, as we have databases, so you see what you need based on your needs through the server. You can print your application for a tender in various languages. So this kind of goes straight into the tender. And here we see various other ones. So finally, I'd like to remind you of the importance of using living laboratories for disseminating knowledge. This is important because collaborative structures that transfer knowledge act towards the best performance of collaborations between users. And this means that findings can be converted into sustainable solutions and results that can be capitalized and that can be sustainable. So after the end of the project, society can continue from this point onwards, embracing the results and embracing them in a way that will show that these results have been understood and in a way they have changed the life of society and the way in which people operate, so that we can face the problem at the source as much as possible. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Stefanidis. Do we have any questions from the audience here or online? No, I don't think so. So, having completed the second session of today's event, we can close this meeting. At this point, I'd like a comment I had via Zoom from our online audience, specifically from Mr. Kalognomos, who presented a presentation in the previous session, who states that as regards his area, the Black Sea area, there could be a collaboration between the CPMR and the University of Patras in the Bridge BS project, which starts soon. So that's a comment, because it's important for everyone to hear that, yeah, there could be such a collaboration. So, Professor Zacharias, the floor is yours. It's time to finish this seminar, and I would like to wish that this seminar is going to be useful for those who attended. There will be results and proposals that will be gathered in the proceedings of this seminar. And I hope that these proposals and all that will happen during this project will sensitize local society and local politicians to take part in this effort to reduce pollutants in the area. I would like to finish by thanking everyone who has attended in these conditions of the pandemic and of the heat wave, and still you're here with us. And to thank all the speakers, the representatives of the European Economic Area and of the local authority, the region, the municipality, of course, all the speakers, and also the project team, specifically Yota Saradi, Olivia Gili, Irini Biliani, Stella Bilani, Eleni Kafusia, and Yanis Kanakaris, and Ionian TV, who helped us so much. Without them, we couldn't have managed this event. Thank you very much. And I hope that we'll have the best possible results. Bye.